Welcome to the cross-site scripting room. We're White Hat Security. We're going to be presenting on hacking intranets from the inside, from the outside. This is going to be a pretty fun presentation here. Lots of demos. We're going to try to stay away from our slides as much as possible and stick to lots and lots of demos since they're more fun, but they're also very scary to do for the presenters. So we'll see what we get to. So just a bit about ourselves here. We're from White Hat Security. We run a managed service where we constantly hack the websites of our customers to let them know where the vulnerabilities are so they can fix them before the bad guys exploit them. Myself, most of the time I'm doing technology R&D, industry evangelism, speaking at conferences such as BlackHat, and this is my 12th time here. It's great to be here for such a big audience actually, but we also get to speak at ISSA and other events and things like that. And when I'm not doing cross-site scripting during the day of my day job, I'm doing it my night job with the Web Application Security Consortium. If you haven't heard of this organization, it's at webappsec.org. It has lots of useful information there and nothing but WebAppSec people to ask questions with and learn from. And which is why we're all here, to learn what the cutting-edge stuff is so we can move things forward and hopefully protect ourselves. And prior to founding White Hat Security, I was also an information security officer at Yahoo. My entire job there was web application security. And again, did nothing but hack websites, 600 or so of them, and 17,000 publicly facing servers. So I know lots and lots about web apps, but if you ask me to configure your Cisco PICs or anything like that, I probably can't. So anything out of the browser, I'm pretty good at. Anything else, not so good. And I brought with me TC Nijakovsky here. He's one of our senior security engineers who does lots of the hacking. And I'll let him tell you a little bit about his day job. So go ahead.
Like Jer said, I get to hack web applications, hundreds of web applications. Banking, finance, e-commerce, social networking, education, fun stuff. I can do that. It's awesome. Also, I get to try new attack methods, stuff that Jer and others are researching, and I get to use them against hundreds of production websites and see what the effects are.
So, again, BlackHat is a great opportunity for us to present. It's really the only show that we're aware of that allows us to show off the most sophisticated attacks with an audience that might appreciate that, what we're doing here. And this presentation here is really an extension off our last year's presentation that we entitled Phishing with Superbait, but this takes the act of cross-site scripting and JavaScript malware a lot further, so you're going to see lots of information there. And before when we were doing the cross-site scripting talks, we made everybody afraid to click on links in their email. Now we're going to make everybody afraid to surf the web. so let's begin and see where we are at. Again, we're talking about intranet security. And when you're doing intranet security, we make the following assumptions that, things on the inside of the perimeter that are behind firewalls, we can treat them differently than the things on the external perimeter, public web servers, public mail servers, and things like this. And we find on on just about everybody's internal network that they leave the hosts unpatched. They leave default passwords on. And they don't put a firewall in front of these devices because the firewall's at the perimeter. So all these devices are certainly not as secure as their publicly available cousins. And so that's what we have here, is more of an insecure environment. But these are assumptions that all this stuff is more or less okay because the external, the perimeter firewalls are protecting us. We're here to tell you that this assumption is wrong. Okay, we're going to show you how JavaScript malware and using nothing but your browser can wreak havoc on the intranet. So we're going to see what we get to there. When we look at web-enabled devices, what has the web become, and what has HTTP been used for? It wasn't so much 10 years ago, but now every device, every business process, everything has a web-enabled interface. Everything from the DSL routers, firewalls, IP phones, what else? The little quick cams there, printers, and everything else. Everything has a web-enabled interface. And I was at a dinner with somebody last night. They informed us that their power supply system, the ones that with power supplies, you can connect to it via web-based interface for their UPS system. So that was different. So everything has a web-enabled interface, and where does that leave us? Are these things assessed? Are they secure? And even if they are, how secure are they really? So what is it we're talking about here? How do we breach this perimeter? Okay, how do we get inside the intranet? So when we say JavaScript malware, what is this? So intranet users, we're going to use the intranet user on the inside of the firewall to our advantage. To access the intranet through the perimeter firewall, and normally the perimeter firewall here, as we all know, are set up where they only allow connections, you know, for no trusted ports, the good ports like 80 and 443. But everything else like FTP, SSH from the outside, NetBIOS, is blocked at the perimeter firewall. We can't connect to the intranet on the wikis, the printers, you know, the IP phones and all that other good stuff. But what happens here is the user, any user on the corporate intranet, when they go to a publicly facing website, they download that web page with embedded JavaScript code, Flash code, ActiveX code. That code is actually brought back into the enterprise, where now it can reach the intranet. So we're taking this stuff that we're now calling JavaScript malware, because that's really what it's most indicative of, most close example, and that's now going to be running on the user's browser on the inside. So all this research is based upon what can we get JavaScript to do. Okay? So again, so a lot of this stuff will be really new, especially cross-site scripting, all the malware stuff. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand, and I'll do my best to address the question. All right, so JavaScript malware, I said this term a few times. This stuff gets behind the firewall to attack the intranet. All the hacks you'll see here are operating system and browser independent. We make no claims that one browser is more secure than the other. And we want to thank RSnake. He's a fellow researcher that has helped us a lot with these hacks and allows us to bounce ideas off of them. So again, all these exploits you're going to see do not use any well-known or any unpatched browser vulnerabilities. This is native JavaScript in every major browser, Mozilla, Firefox, IE. We think Opera, though we haven't tested thoroughly. All the exploit code uses JavaScript, CSS, applets, and things like that. Just the normal, basic, everyday stuff. And on your CDs, we put all the exploit code, all our JavaScript exploit code, the proof of concept stuff on your CD, so you can run through all that stuff, so you can see how it all works. So that's what we have here. So again, no browser exploits. There's guys in other talks that are doing those, but ours are just native to the browser. So how do you contract JavaScript malware? There's several ways to do it. When you're surfing the web, one is when you find your way to a website that might have JavaScript malware on it, the website owner might have put it there purposely, to embed it in his own website to ensnare users. So that's why you get the recommendation: you don't surf to potentially malicious websites. Another way to do it is that a person's website, a trusted website, a popular website, might have been defaced, and there's defacements happening, maybe hundreds, if not thousands, every day. So JavaScript malware might have been put inside of a defacement, and it has happened in the past. Another way to do it is through two forms of cross-site scripting. The first one, it might be injected into a public area of a website. We call it persistent cross-site scripting, where a malicious user would post JavaScript or some malicious code to the web page where other public users will see it. If any community-oriented user gets onto the website, it executes in the context of the security of that website. So that's one way. And the last way is a link. Again, another cross-site scripting vulnerability where we'll make a specially crafted link. We'll go over through several examples on how to do this, where you click on the link, data goes into the website, echoes back out, and executes within the browser. So there's four main ways. So we're going to, like I said, we're not going to do much of the slides here. We're going to go straight into the demos here. And if you want to go back to the slides, a lot of the slides will mimic our examples here, and they'll play off each other. So we're going to take about 2 seconds here to switch laptops from the slides to the demo machines. Okay. All right, this page here, we're going to show some basic cross-site scripting stuff, and we're just going to go right into it. So let me just ask the question, so to kind of gauge the audience. Who here has heard of cross-site scripting or knows what it is? Show of hands. Holy cow, okay. Last year it was like 4 people, and I think we were 2 of them. Okay. What we're looking for when we find a cross-site scripting vulnerability is a place in the website where we put in some user-supplied content and it echoes back as part of the website. Again, a show of hands here, we already knew. Okay, so one of the most notorious spots where we find it is in the search field. And the place we're playing around with it here is in this search parameter here. Can everybody see this more or less okay? I know it's kind of, okay. So that's the spot we're going to cross-site script here, okay? We're going to show some basic HTML embedding. So we'll put a U tag in there. And at this point, we know that we can get HTML into the system and more, and also JavaScript in the system should we choose. So that's our vulnerable spot. What we're on here is a blog website that we purposely made vulnerable. We can actually go to the admin interface and sign in, but it's just a normal blog system. We tried our best to scrub the name from it, but I'm sure those familiar with this blog platform will know what it is. Come on, while you. That's unfortunate because it's running on localhost. Wow. Okay, we'll skip past that part for now. All right. So let's go back here, and we're going to start putting in some code. On this web server here, these are on the laptop in front of me is running multiple web servers. This site is running in the context of victim. This one will be our hacker, our adversary. And this is all the JavaScript exploit code that we'll be using. And the first one we'll be doing is we'll just do a basic browser spy. A lot of everybody does it, especially the banner providers out there. So we're going to show just how we're going to cross the domain barrier, script source in exploit code from an alternate domain, and it will execute within the same context of victim. So it's just basic stuff. Just shows the premise of some of the data we can get out of a web browser, user agent, cookie if we had one, screen width, plugins, all sorts of things. Just basic information that we can learn about the browser or learn about the platform which we're going to be executing attacks from. So when we're devising hacking the intranet, it's nice to know where the user has been, whether it's on the intranet, on the internet, and see where they've been so we can craft attacks particular from that user to those websites. So what we want to be able to do is steal their history. We want to know where they've been, okay? And an easy way to do that is, if you refer to the slides, is we use a hack using cascading style sheets. What we do in the browser here, and let me bring this up, so we'll just go steal_history. Okay, and we'll bring up this screen. Contrast is really low, huh? So let me highlight it. Oh, that didn't work at all. Are the links showing up? More or less, okay. Now, what this hack does is it actually guesses at the history of a user's browser. What it does is in JavaScript space, it makes a bunch of links on the screen. All the top websites, banks and other things like that, MySpace, AOL, and even BlackHat. And what it does here from JavaScript space, it checks the color of the link and sees, sometimes links will have purple or blue depending on if you've been there or not. So from JavaScript space, we check the color. Okay, if it's purple, then we know you've been there. If it's blue, you haven't. Okay, so now at this point, we know where you've been to, on different websites, and we left out the adult websites, but Okay, so if we had bandwidth here, which we don't, they told me I had to use wireless for the demos, and I wasn't about to do that here. So somebody would have hacked me, and that would have been not good. Okay, so what happens in this demo, if we were to click on a link, go to BlackHat or something like that, and hit reload, it would show visited. So at this point, this is a very simple hack. The code's on the CDs to show how to do this, but essentially, it's JavaScript accessing the color of the cascading style sheet so we know where you've been to, whether internally or externally. It's also would be easy to make links for the internal IP address ranges after we find the internal IP address. All right, so we have that. Where's the slide so we know where I'm at? Okay, so let's see, the next slide, NATed IP address. Okay, so next one, we're going to start stealing the internal NATed IP